Hey, Bonsai Society. Yeah, I admit it's been a minute. No, really, it's been a few months. But I've been working hard all winter long, wiring trees. But the winter's coming to an end now, and I'm about to start repotting. Today I'm going to be repotting an apple tree. It's a cultivar called Molten Lava. Hey everyone. Today we're going to be wiring this tree first and then repotting it. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the history of this tree. I sold it many years ago to one of my students, and I just bought it back at the end of the summer. Yesterday I spent the whole day pruning it because it was neglected. Unfortunately, the student is very ill, so he couldn't care for it. So yesterday I spent the day, not the whole day, but pruning it back. Today we're going to get it wired, and then we're going to pot it up in a much smaller pot. I'd like to show you, it is a prolific flower and bloomer. These are some of the small fruits that I removed from it yesterday. Just some of them. I kept some to reseed some new trees. They're very tiny fruits, as you can see. And now the tree looks as if it doesn't, or the tree does not have that many branches because it was so neglected. The branches had grown too long. There's not much ramification, mind you. Fruiting trees never have that much ramification. So yeah, I cut everything back, and there's a lot of flowering spurs that were removed. We still have some in various places, but I'd say I removed cut back about 2/3 of the branches. So we're going to get to work wiring it a little bit just to get it looking a little bit better, and then we'll repot it. It's really important to wire before repotting because if I pot it first and then wire it, the tree will be jiggling around in the pot even though I anchor them down with wire. And when you jiggle that tree, it forms air pockets around the roots, and those feeder roots will die. So always get your tree wired before repotting it. Some of these big branches, this one I'm not going to move very much. It's very low, but so far there's a big space in here. And as I said, the tree was a bit neglected. Now, in Japan, they say that if you're a really good bonsai expert, you can take the sickest tree, the most neglected tree, and if you're good, you can nurse it back to health and it'll become a beautiful bonsai again. So that's what I'm planning to do with this tree. So I'm keeping this branch, this lower branch, for now. I think it adds something to this slanting style, but eventually I think either myself or the new owner should cut it off. But today I'm going to start by wiring it. Now I will be using some aluminum wire. Not that I don't like copper, but apples have a very delicate bark. It comes off quite easily, and this is the spring, so you're liable to bruise it quite a bit. So I'd prefer not to take any chances and use a softer wire. Right now we're wiring this tree. I decided to go up to a 4.5 millimeter. Apples have very hard wood, so we have to use something that's quite thick in order to move these branches around. I'm going to end here. And now I don't want the branches to be all just flowing downwards. This is an apple after all, so it has to look like an apple. I don't want everything slanting downwards. We'll cut the excess wire off here and here. And I'm bringing the branches forward a bit toward the front. The front is right here. I should mark it for you. That's what I'll do. usually I work with the front towards me, or almost all the time. Today we're being filmed, so the front is actually facing towards the camera, not me, but I will have to go back and forth. Okay, I think that's enough there. Just have to bring down this tip just a bit more. Okay, now we're going to go branch by branch. So I'm going to fine wire some of these smaller branches right now. When you're wiring trees just to reshape them, you don't have to worry about the wire being too thick, because they're not going to be shown in an exhibition. So you can use thicker wire. You actually should use thicker wire, because you get more control over your branches. Real fine wiring, especially using copper wire on deciduous, would be mostly for getting a tree ready for show. Okay, so we've finished wiring. As you can see, this right here is the front of the tree. And so what I wanted to do was to lower all the branches. It's a slanting style. The top is coming back a little bit on itself. And I tried to bring the branch tips down to give it a look of age. I don't want to basically change the style completely. Anyway, it's almost impossible with an apple. They're so brittle, the branches just break. Here I had a little break here and a little break up there, because there's actually some dead wood in this branch. So you have to be really careful when you are wiring fruiting trees. It's best to shape them through pruning if you can. So now I'm about to repot it. I'm going to take this tree out of the pot. It's way too large, and put it in a smaller pot. I've selected two choices. They might not be the final choices either, depending on the roots. as you can see, folks, I'm taking a lot of the soil ball away from the tree because this tree was, first of all, grossly overpotted. The pot was at least 3 times too large for the tree. So it never dried out last summer. I think I watered it at the most once a month, 2 or 3 times during the whole time I had it. And on top of that, the soil is much too compact. The former owner put a lot of black soil in with the bonsai soil, and that clogged up the pores of the tree, so it just wasn't draining. So right now I'm working just under the trunk, trying to get some of the original black soil also off of this tree. Sometimes I go as far as even washing the roots. You have to be careful with these apple trees because fruiting trees are very susceptible to having nematodes, or they're huge. It can be a virus also, Agrobacterium tumefaciens. When I find that on a fruiting tree, there's nothing you can do. So I basically throw the tree out. This one I checked before I bought it to make sure that it didn't have them. But I'm still taking all of the old soil off because I want to get it in a faster draining soil that will return the health of the tree. The roots need to breathe, and these roots were not breathing at all. That's the reason why the tree has almost no ramification. The tree was actually pretty well drowning. It's going to do the tree a lot of good to get it into a coarser, faster draining bonsai soil. So we're almost through with this. I don't think I'm going to wash the roots. I've got most of the old soil off. I pruned off all the dead roots the other day when I had a chance, and I'm going to try to pot it lower in the pot also because I don't like seeing under or through the root system. I like the nabari to look very solid and powerful. This is basically what's left of the soil on the roots. Now there's not much left at all, as you can see. Apples have very, very strong, have very, very, very vigorous root systems. So it can take this drastic repotting very, very well. Not worried at all about the survival of the tree. So that's this. I'll put it down now and clean up, and then we're going to choose a pot to put it in. Well, folks, we're choosing a pot now for this tree. As I said, the former pot was way too large. It was way overpotted. It wasn't drying out quickly enough. But the choice of pot is very, very, very important. The pot has to harmonize with the tree. In this case, this is a cultivar called Molten Lava, and we're trying to choose a glazed pot that will bring out the feature the best part of this tree. And the best part is the fruits in the fall. The fruits resemble this color right here. You can see there's reds, and we want it to contrast with the color of the fruit. So here we have the color with the pot. I think it goes quite well. I've taken out another pot to try it, the other pot, but I think this is very good. The tree is too high in the pot, but that's no problem. With apples, we can certainly reduce the depth of the roots. This was my other choice. It's deeper, but I think it's a bit big for the tree, and I'm not sure whether the color is more, I would say, it's a more lime green than the other. It doesn't go as well, I think. It doesn't harmonize as well with the color of the fruits. So I think we're going to go with the first pot. I think it's a better choice. So that means I'm going to reduce some of the depth of the roots to get it in the pot better. Then we'll get the pot ready and get it potted up. Real quick, YouTubers, let me know which pot you would choose. Either the pale green, or not pale green, green oval, or the darker green quince-shaped pot. Let me know. Send me your comments. So the pot is prepared. As you can see, we've put screening over the holes. It's a quite large size of screening to permit good water flow. And I put the anchoring wires in, so we're ready to pot it up. Now I'm just trying to choose what side of this pot I'm going to use. This is a very valuable pot. It's from Tokoname in Japan, made by a famous artist named Shuho. It's actually signed underneath the pot. Because it's handmade and hand glazed, it looks different. Here we've got some spots coming down. I want to know if that's going to add to the beauty of the tree, or the other side I think is more uniform. No, I like the odd side. So what we're going to do is mark it. I always have a little piece of chalk to mark the front of my pot, so I won't forget when I start potting up. So now we'll put some coarse draining soil, but before I do that, the tree is too high in the pot. I'm going to trim some of the roots off the bottom of the tree so it'll go in much, well, the roots will fit in without the tree being too high in the pot. So I'm going to lean the tree over. The roots are very long and stringy, so we're going to be using a Masakuni root cutter and reduce the length of some of them. They're like springs against the bottom of the pot. So we're going to reduce the length of several of them. You do have to leave your feeder roots. So I'm trying to choose a spot where there's quite a few feeder roots. I check each root to see just how far I can shorten it. I love these root cutters. They make a nice clean cut. You have to sharpen them well, but they cut very thick roots with a straight cut. Folks, do you know that you can start apples from root cuttings? If you keep pieces that are thick enough like this and pot them up, in about 2 or 3 months, you'll see little shoots coming out of them. So you'll have a whole new generation of molten lava crabapple trees. So now we're pouring in our prepared bonsai soil. It's actually 3 parts of topsoil, sifted, so it's very granular, 5 parts of academa, and 3 parts of, or 2 or 3 parts of pumice. To all of this, I'll be adding some bone meal so the tree will flower better, a little bit of dolomitic lime, and a little bit of fertilizer in there. Now, whether the tree sits well in the pot, this is critical. You have to get it in there, and I want to get it tied in too so it doesn't move in its pot. I have to turn it around to face, so it's facing me, so that I can see how I'll get it into its pot. If it'll go in, first of all. Yeah, I think we're good enough here. We're quite low down. Now, some of these branches did come up. Before finishing up the repotting, I've got my coarse layer down on the bottom. Now I'm adding some trace elements. The first I'm adding is dolomitic lime, because apple trees like a slightly alkaline soil. They also need a lot of calcium and magnesium, so that's going in first. Got a couple of tablespoons of that. Then we want to add some mycorrhiza. This is mycorrhiza. It'll help the roots absorb nutrients. So mycorrhiza is actually mushrooms, mycelium, and that will colonize the root system and help the tree to grow. Then, because it's an apple tree, they need more bone meal. They need more phosphorus to set buds, flower, and fruit. So that I don't like to put it right on the roots. So I put it along the edges or in the corner of a pot. There we go. And then finally, we're going to put in a little bit of Osmocote. It's basically, it'll keep the tree fed for 5 to 6 months. And it's actually 15, 9, 12. So we'll just spread some in there too. Mind you, during the summer, I do supplement that all with organic fertilizer. That's it. Now we're going to add some medium-sized soil. First, I have to work in the coarse. So we want to get it under the trunk there, because the roots really need to breathe under the trunk. Next time I will not do such a drastic repotting. Because the soil is so coarse, it'll breathe for a very long time. So I won't have to remove all of the substrate or the potting medium. Okay, so now I'll be adding in some medium. It's the same thing. It's a mixture of a little bit of topsoil, mainly Akadama, medium size, and about 2 to 3 parts of pumice. One last touch up here. This branch was too high. It was throwing all the rest of the tree off. So I'm trying to lower it a bit, slowly, bit by bit. That's about the limit of what I can do today. Now, I've just added all the medium-size substrate here, worked it under the roots, under the trunk. So now the medium is all slightly compacted. You can't compact it too much when you're using Akadama. And now we're going to put a thin coating of fine. Again, the same proportions, the same ingredients. And here, the Nabari. The Nabari is this root splay all around the base of the trunk. Always has to be slightly higher than the pot, but you must leave a little bit below the pot in order to catch the water when you're watering and fertilizing. You don't want your soil line to come right up to the edge of the pot. It has to be higher in the middle and then gradually taper down toward the edge of the pot. Now, this does not need to be compacted, the fine. We're just going to do this. So we've just finished the repotting. As you can see, the Nabari, the base of the tree with the root splay, is slightly above the rim of the pot. The soil slopes downward toward the edge of the pot, but it doesn't come right to the edge. You need a space between the soil line and the pot in order for the water and the fertilizer to accumulate there. Okay, now the tree is repotted. It's good for at least 2 years in this pot. Now, this tree now has a new lease on life. It will, with this new aerated soil mixture that's porous, the tree will become very vigorous with a lot of sunlight, fertilizer. It'll start to ramify. In 2 or 3 years, it'll produce tons of flowers and fruits. It'll be a magnificent specimen. So stay tuned to see it in the future.